Shetan Noir is an American cryptozoologist and paranormal investigator. Among her many other titles, she is the head researcher for the North American Dogman Project in the state of Michigan. Michigan is often seen as one of the most consistent dogman hotspots in the United States and has a reputation for historically significant and often strange sightings.
You know, I only I get a couple of reports a year, and it's usually fingers crossed that it's not a hoax report. But here in Michigan, we do have a lot of resources. We have fresh water everywhere. Not only are we surrounded by, the Great Lakes, which are huge bodies of fresh water, but we have streams, rivers, lakes, inland that are also fresh water. We have one of the best sports fishing destinations in the world with salmon, trout, perch, just smelt that, runs through these rivers. And that's just the aquatic species. And then you've got your deer, your rabbits, food resources, just plentiful, cornfields, in the fall, the pumpkin patches, are available, squashes. But then you've got the orchards with apples, pears, peaches, blueberries, blackberries. We have tons of natural food resources that any omnivore, which I do put Bigfoot in Dogman in the omnivore category because they feed off of whatever's available. So it might be a carcass on the side of the road, or it could be a fresh batch of apples that just, came ripe and they're chomping down on them. We have lots of different food potentials for them to take advantage of, and I do think that they do it. So wherever you have fields, orchards, farms, where deer and rabbits can, eat their, max every day, you will have Bigfoots, because the Bigfoots also want the deer, the rabbits, the corn, the fruit, any type of vegetables that they can get. That is all on the menu. But you also have the dogmen who kind of follow along, and anywhere that you have the fields, the deer, the Bigfoot, you have the dogmen. And, because they're not going to pass up a free, easy meal. Miss Linda Godfrey and all of her research that she has done, she's the one who actually brought the attention of the Dogman scenario. You've got the Beast of Bray Road, but the Beast of Bray Road and the Dogman are very much, they are the same creature. It just so happened that the Beast of Bray Road, it's named for actually Bray Road. Here in Michigan, originally most of the reports came from the Ludington area, and she had documented that very extensively with her books. But some of these reports go back to the 1800s. In the early 1900s, two fishermen were out in a rowboat fishing, and they saw what they thought was a coonhound swimming towards them. And they thought, this poor dog, some hunter probably just, abandoned it. So, they're kind of calling the dog to them, and, they're ready to pull into the boat. Well, it gets next to the boat, and the next thing they know, one arm, then another arm grabs hold of the side of the boat, and this creature starts hauling itself in. So at that point, they decide, this isn't a dog that we want to take home with us. So they start paddling away, and they get away from it, and are able to elude it and get away from it. So I do like the reports coming from Ludington and the ones that are older. For me, I like historical reports more, particularly if they're before the Barnum Bailey time. Because people are less likely to be making up a hoax at that point. But I did get two, within the last 2 years, I've gotten a very interesting report, a description of this creature. Now, both people were traveling in their vehicles. One person was behind an ambulance when this creature crossed the road. But they said it was the height of a camel. It was on all fours when it crossed the road, about the color of a camel, but had more of a body like a bear, had a domed head, had fox-like ears, and was like a camel colored, kind of like a reddish camel colored. Well, that immediately rules out brown bear or black bear in our area, because we don't really have that camel color, that orangey sandish color of black bears in this area. But the fact that it had a longer neck and ears that were, kind of like a fox's. And so both eyewitnesses got a good look at the creature as it crossed the road. But the interesting thing is when their vehicle crossed the point in the road that they had seen the creature, when they looked into the fields on the other side of the road, there was nothing. So this is a very large creature, weighing a couple 100 pounds from the body mass that they reported, and easily disappearing into the sides of the road. And these reports are have happened within the last 5 years. So that's that is a very interesting cryptid that we have, middle of the state to the northern portion of the state here in Michigan, the Mitten State, and reports that I've gotten from two different people who do not know each other. They live in two separate areas, of a very similar creature. I think for the most part it is a flesh and blood creature, and they are very, very good ambush predators. Now, the interesting thing is that when dogmen or a pack of dogmen move into an area where the Bigfoots are, the Bigfoot will leave. So if you look at it in this way, we all know that moose are huge. They're a walking tree. But a pack of wolves will pursue a moose into a lake to tear its steaks off of it and eat it. And then once the moose bleeds to death, they will drag it back into shore and finish eating it. So if a pack of wolves can take down a moose, a pack of dogmen can take down a Bigfoot. So a lot of times when I'm getting reports, the hard thing is most people only get a brief sighting. And if they're really good, they might be able to get, make a mental note of the size of the animal, the color of the fur, and if it had a tail or not. So a lot of eyewitness reports, as I get them, a lot of people first will report that they saw a Bigfoot. But then, as they think more and more about it, they're like, but, it had ears. I'm like, well, Bigfoots don't have ears. Were you able to see the profile of it? Did it have a snout? What were the formation of its legs? Did it have a tail of any kind? And so when people are starting to give details, they are starting to realize that it wasn't a Bigfoot that they saw. It was probably a dogman. And just because you only see one of them does not mean that the pack isn't already across the road or waiting to cross the road. Same with deer. You always, as deer are crossing the road, you always want to stop, because just because one crossed doesn't mean that there's not 10 other following it, as you try. So I always stop when I see a deer crossing the road, because they're never ever alone. So you have to take that into, consideration is, okay, even though I just saw one, that doesn't mean that he was alone or she was alone. The rest of the pack could have already crossed the road, or they might be on the other side of the road waiting to cross, but because they saw the vehicle, they've stopped and they've taken up shelter and they're hiding until the vehicle's passed. Then they will cross the road. So a lot of times it's a solitary creature that people report seeing, and that's fine. But you can't discount the fact that there might be others in the area who are just, you've always got a leader of the group who kind of goes ahead and tests, the area to see if it's safe to cross, if there's other things to be aware of, and then the rest usually follow. So the Dogman, a lot of people are not aware of what to look for with looking for the Dogman. So when people are out hiking the trails, or they're out in the woods or fields, and they come across these very big dog footprints. When I say large, I'm talking the size of your fist or bigger. But it's important to note that within purebred dogs, we have dogs that have feet that, paws that big. With your Mastiffs, your Great Danes, Newfoundlands, any of the large working breeds, they all have a larger paw size. So really you have to, when you take pictures of it, you have to put something in the photo frame for reference. Because I can zoom in on my miniature pincher's paw print and say, wow, look at the size of this dog foot, print. But if you zoom in really, really close, things appear bigger. So it's important when we're looking at evidence that if we are looking at these paw prints, we're putting something within the frame for a size comparison. So either a ruler or a pop can or a dollar bill. Dollar bills work great because they're 6 inches, and that is a universal measurement right there. The bill size in America, they're not changing them anytime soon. So it's 6 by 3 inches for a dollar bill. So that is a perfect measurement right there. If it's bigger than a $6 bill, then you're looking at something that is bigger than a Great Dane or a Mastiff. So you have it. That is potential for it to be a Dogman track. Really, the only evidence that eyewitness reports have given me is just their statement or a drawing that they have received. They really haven't gone back and looked for tracks, or even given me the actual locations of where they had the sightings at. So it's really hard when you have an eyewitness report and they give you their initial story, but then they don't want to fill out any questionnaires. They don't want to tell you the exact location of the sighting, and they won't even go back and take any pictures or look for hair samples or anything like that. That makes it very frustrating when you're trying to do research on the Dogman. The hardest thing is getting those people who do have the sightings to actually be interactive and want to talk to you. It's one thing to fill out, to send in a report, and mostly I get them from the North American Dogman Project. But to actually get an ongoing conversation with these people, a lot of them just they don't want to go that next step. So then I have to wonder, did they actually have a sighting, or did they hoax this and just wanted to be a smart ass, for lack of a better term, and make light of the situation?